Chapter 2 Smoke and Sand. Berik slipped both daggers into his palms, one reverse gripped, one forward, and breathed slow. The sandstorm loomed, the wind screamed, the shadows descended. From the crest of the dune, 3 enemy scouts advanced, weapons drawn, formation hesitant. One of their own lay dead by Berik's earlier throw. The others now realized they were not hunting prey. They were walking into a blade they could not see. Berik lunged like lightning through silk, not loud, not heroic, just inevitable. He rushed the right flank scout, the one with the spear and hook blade, still adjusting his grip when Berik's daggers flashed. The first blade drove beneath the man's ribs, a short, straight thrust. The scout gasped, stumbled. Berik twisted, pivoted, slammed his offhand dagger into the base of the man's neck. The spear dropped. The body followed. A scout was down. The captain shouted, "Viral down. Watch the gap." "Circle him, now." Berik was already turning. 1 down, 2 remained. The second scout lunged from the left, short sword raised, cloak trailing behind. Berik didn't retreat. He stepped in, turned the blade with the flat of his dagger, caught the man's tunic with his offhand, and yanked him forward into the second strike. His knee crashed into the man's thigh as his blade punched into soft stomach. The scout's weight collapsed forward. Berik used it, shifted under, pulled the man around, and sliced him across the throat with the reverse grip. No scream, just a wet, sharp exhale. The second body dropped, 2 down. The wind hit harder now. Sand blasted across the slope. The storm pushed over the ridge like a living thing. The last one wasn't moving. Not a scout. Stance too clean, sword centered, shoulders tight. The cloak he wore was proper officer's cut, utility bound and worn in. "Captain." He didn't flinch at the bodies. His sword lifted just slightly. Berik stood still. The wind whipped sideways. Between gusts, only breath and tension moved. The captain called out, calm. "Didn't expect that." Berik watched him. "You alone?" the man asked. No answer. The two circled slow, deliberate steps, carving shallow lines in the sand. Visibility dropped. Sound dulled. The storm edged in, pressing closer. The captain broke the standoff first. He moved fast, better than the scouts. Blade arcing low, then sweeping high. Berik slipped aside, let it pass, and backstepped 2 paces. The captain kept after him, pressing with quick thrusts, trying to test range. Berik didn't counter. He studied. 3 more cuts came disciplined, tight, aimed for center. The footwork was real, veteran, not reckless, but rigid. Predictable. On the 4th strike, Berik let his heel dig into the slope and let the strike come in close. His forward blade caught it and knocked it wide. His body moved in immediately after, shoulder brushing past the captain's. His other blade slashed through cloak and into thigh. The captain staggered, limped back. Still alive. Guard up. Breathing controlled. Another step back. Defensive now. Berik closed again. 2 steps in the arc. Then the storm hit full. A solid gust cut visibility to near nothing. Dust and sand tore sideways. Everything went gray. The captain disappeared into the haze. Berik crouched low, body tight to the ground. Still. Breathing controlled. One blade angled upward. The other loose and ready. He waited. Sand struck skin. Grit burned his cheek, but he listened. Not for sound, for motion. The captain came from the right. A stab, low and direct. Berik turned with it, slammed his offhand blade upward to parry. His forward blade sliced into ribs as he rotated. The cut was deep, the sound was wet. The man fell against him, then pushed off. Still not down. The two parted again, this time slower, both breathing hard. Then a sound cut the storm sharp, echoing. A voice, distant, but not far, a call through the wind. Reinforcements. Berik didn't hesitate. He charged the captain before the man could set his footing again. The captain raised his sword, slow from blood loss. Berik slammed the reverse grip dagger up into the side of the man's neck, the blade buried deep. The captain twitched, dropped, folded. Berik yanked the blade free. The body collapsed in the sand. 3 down. But more were coming. He turned toward the storm. Eyes narrow, blades dripping. Still breathing quiet. Still listening. The reinforcements formed a half circle on the dune ahead, eyes locked on him. Two crossbowmen dropped to a knee, leveling their weapons. The others shifted forward, blades raised, shoulders tight. They weren't charging yet, but they were ready to. Berik was already moving. He twisted, cloak cracking in the rising wind, and dropped low. His feet slid wide in the sand, knees bent, balance grounded. The nearest crossbowman knelt just 25 feet out, steady posture, focused, breathing. Let him aim. Let him breathe. Let him believe. Then take the breath away. The first bolt snapped past Berik's ear, close enough to graze the wind at his cheek. His arm moved in the same instant, the dagger already airborne, thrown clean and low. It struck the scout's arm. The man yelped, nearly dropping the fresh bolt he'd been reloading. His hand twisted awkward, blood trailing down his wrist. Panic followed. Berik's stance didn't break. The wind thickened, swirling dust from the slope, folding haze from the dead captain behind him. The crossbowman clutched his wound, swearing, trying to reset his grip. He didn't know he was already dead. Berik stomped. A smoke bead cracked beneath his heel with a dry crunch. In less than a second, thick gray fog erupted outward. It rolled fast, billowing in every direction, curling upward like a throat torn open. In seconds, the area vanished under a smothering curtain of smoke and the whipping of sand in the wind. 10 feet of visibility collapsed to 2. To them, he vanished. To him, they slowed. Inside the haze, Berik bent low, boots digging quietly into the shifting grit. Smoke stuck to him in ribbons shoulder to knee, erasing his shape, blurring his shadow. No edges, no form. He didn't need to see. His fingers dropped down and closed around Varel's dagger, the curved blade still damp, notched near the edge, but weighted right. The grip felt wrong, but the balance held. He crouched deeper, closed his eyes, mapped it. The crossbowman, 25 feet northeast. Left knee down, right elbow high. Wounded arm, breathing shallow. Focused forward. Berik threw. The dagger spun tight through the gray memory over vision. It hit. A low grunt, swallowed by smoke. Then, a body hit the sand. Berik moved again. Not forward, not back. He cut a shallow arc around the edge of the fog, careful and slow. The smoke coiled near his face as he shifted weight between steps. To his right, one scout stayed still, blade drawn, unsure. Farther behind, the hammer waited. No movement, watching, holding ground. That one had patience. Berik didn't bother with him yet. He turned toward the scout entering the fog. This one moved quiet. Not a charge, but a breach. 15 feet out, maybe less. Slim frame, short blade, clean gear, no words. The man stepped in blind. Berik moved counterclockwise, tight arc, knees bent, feet soft. The sand muffled everything but breath. Check left, the scout called. I'll cut center. The others didn't answer. Berik did. He slipped in behind, close enough to see the fabric shift with breath. The scout never turned. Berik drove the blade under the shoulder blade, up into the lung. The man bucked forward, gasped. Berik yanked the dagger back and shoved the body forward into the smoke. It dropped without sound. He vanished again into the gray. A voice echoed from above the slope, sharp, clipped. Fall back, regroup west. Footsteps shifted. The others were leaving. Not a route, just distance. Measured retreat. Berik didn't chase. He crouched still, one blade in hand, the other wet and quiet. The hammer didn't retreat, not yet. Berik waited. Wind screamed through the fog, pushing the smoke down into the sand and dragging it away in tatters. The bodies stayed buried in it. The hill above cleared first, then the lower slope, then the basin around him. When the smoke cleared fully, the field was still. 4 corpses marked where they had stood. The last figure heavy, Broad stood alone at the ridge. Watching. Berik didn't move. Neither did he. The wind pulled the last threads of smoke into the storm. Berik stood still. So did the man at the ridge, a Codex knight, no doubt. Not in full plate, but close. Reinforced cuirass over dark cloth, shoulders wide, hammer resting across his back, helm strapped at his belt, face bare. His skin was windburnt, scarred from sun and blade, A steady look. A quiet one. The others were gone. Just this one left. Berik didn't draw attention to the corpses. The man stepped forward, slow and even. His boots carved lines in the sand. The hammer slid from his shoulder and dropped into his grip with one smooth motion. He stopped 10 feet out. You killed 6 of mine, the knight said. Berik said nothing. They were scouts, meant to push west and mark safe lanes for the main force. Not fighters. Not for this. Berik waited. The knight watched him. What are you? Berik adjusted his stance low, balanced, knees flexed. Wrong question, he said. The knight tilted his head. Fine. What do you want? Berik stepped slightly left. Not to be followed. The knight gave a faint nod. Then I have orders to disappoint you. The storm howled between them. Neither moved. Then Berik broke forward. Fast, low. He came in not for a kill, but to draw a swing. He feinted left, cloak snapping out, and dropped a smoke pellet mid-step. The knight didn't bite. He turned into the fog, stepped wide, and brought the hammer across in a sweeping arc. Berik ducked, blade glancing off armor. He slid behind the man, reverse grip, and went for the knee. The dagger hit metal, sparked no give. He rolled past the counter, barely missed the crushing weight of a downward blow. The knight didn't talk now, just fought. He moved like a boulder, with thought not fast, but timed. Every swing filled the air with pressure. When Berik circled behind again, the hammer swept back without a glance, clipped Berik's ribs with the edge. A crack. Berik stumbled. Breath vanished. He twisted away and vanished behind a gust of grit, biting down pain. A small blade slipped into his hand, one coated in resin thorn extract. Paralyzing if it struck blood. He used the next gust to rush forward. Cloak high, knife low. The knight slammed the hammer down, anticipating the rush. Berik dropped under it, drove the small blade toward exposed wrist. Blocked. The knight caught his arm with the gauntlet and hurled him sideways. Berik hit sand, rolled, shoulder grinding on stone. His breath came short now. Ribs hurt bad. He didn't rise straight. He crawled behind the old, broken creststone part of the shattered statue and pulled another smoke bead. No time to set another trick. The knight walked forward, calm. Berik snapped a dried coil from his belt of flint spark wire. He set it fast, dragging it against stone. Sparks flared, oil residue ignited, smoke again. The knight stepped into the fog. Berik was gone. He didn't run far. He weaved through rock and ruin, bleeding from his side, hand clutched tight at his cloak to mask the red. Each breath stung. The knight called once through the wind. You don't want me finding you again. Berik didn't answer. He dropped behind a broken pedestal, hand out. Rena gripped it, pulled him low beneath the shattered statue. Fen was beside her, eyes wide, weapons still drawn. Thought you were dead, she whispered. Berik coughed once, eyes sharp despite the blood at his lips. Almost. He pressed back into the stone as the wind drowned the field in yellow haze. The knight didn't follow. Berik's breath came short. The wound across his ribs burned with every step. Blood soaked the inner lining of his cloak, but he pressed forward, one hand tight at his side. The storm had turned vicious. Each gust slammed across the sand in wide, scraping arcs, the grit sharp enough to peel skin. Fenric followed a few paces back, head bowed, both hands over his mouthcloth. Rena moved between them, no wasted motion, her glow casting sharp lines through the dust. The runes along her arms pulsed with a dim, steady gold. Berik slowed. His voice came out low. Find us shelter, closest structure. Rena's eyes flickered. The gold glow intensified. Her pupils vanished behind light. Her voice came through hollow and even no breath, no inflection. Structure located, 1.6 miles east, stone vault, partial collapse, occupancy, possible, magical traces, low. Berik gave a single nod and kept walking. The others followed. The wind tried to drown them. Sand stung every inch of exposed skin. They said nothing during the walk. There was no space for talk in a storm like this. Just breathing, just movement. The slope of the dunes shifted under their steps. More than once, Berik slipped and caught himself with a grunt. Each time sent pain through his ribs, like hot nails driven under bone. The vault appeared through the blur, a shattered rise half sunken in the dunes. Its stone entry slumped forward, cracked and crooked. One side of the arch had collapsed into rubble. What was left tilted hard, but still stood. Berik went in first. Inside, it was cool. Still. The noise of the storm fell away, like a closing door. He let his hand fall away from the wound only after crossing the threshold. He leaned back against the nearest wall and slid down to a seated position, finally still. Rena entered behind him. Her body cast soft pulses against the old stone, not light, not warmth, just presence. Her glow flickered out in thin arcs across the chamber. They moved slightly as she breathed. If she still breathed. Fenric followed last. He dropped to the far wall with a grunt, pulled off his face wrap, and spat sand into the corner. Storm's got teeth, he muttered. Felt like walking through razors. Berik peeled open the edge of his cloak. Blood soaked through his tunic in a slow, steady line. Bruises had already turned the skin near black. He gritted his teeth and opened his pack. Rena stepped close. Her head tilted. The gold in her eyes flared again. Wound integrity compromised. Depth, non-lethal. Risk of internal fracture, moderate. Immediate stabilization advised. Then, quieter, softer, more human. You shouldn't have stayed to fight him. Berik didn't answer. He poured the tincture over the cut, pressed gauze straight to it. His jaw locked no sound, but his hand trembled once as the burn took hold. Fenric watched. He looked younger in stillness, wide-eyed, dirt-streaked, trying to hide the shake in his hands. You ever fought something like that before? He asked. That hammer. It wasn't just a weapon. Felt like it dragged the air behind it. Berik wrapped the bandage twice, tucked the end under. Codex Knight, he said. Trained, templated, probably Sevestian, still used restraint. Fenric blinked. That was restraint? He could have shattered my leg, aimed wide. He leaned back against the wall, closed his eyes for a moment. Fenric exhaled through his teeth. I don't belong out here, he said after a beat. I trained, I passed exams, but none of that means anything when someone like that walks through a storm and looks at you like you're already dead. Berik opened one eye. Then learn fast, or go home. Fenric didn't answer. Rena sat down across from them, folding her legs with mechanical precision. Her glow pulsed once more, then settled. I don't have a home, Fenric muttered. No one spoke for a while. The wind raged outside, thick, shrieking, endless. But the vault held. Berik shifted, checking the tightness of the bandage. It would hold for now. His fingers brushed over the scar at his side, the older one, deeper than this. That one had been worse. Rena tilted her head again, watching him with eyes that glowed just faintly gold. You are stable. Sleep is recommended. I will keep watch. Then, quieter, just her, this time. I'll wake you if anything changes. Berik closed his eyes again. I know.